This episode of Top to Bottom is sponsored by Noted Analytics. Are you tired of losing sales opportunities to the status quo? Not seeing meaningful information in CRM to help close deals? Empower your team with Noted Analytics, the first guided selling for CRM platform that uses sales methodologies like gap selling, Medic, and others to revolutionize the way revenue teams capture, evaluate, and measure sales process effectiveness. Start increasing win rates, shortening sales cycles, and growing average sales prices today. Check it out at notedanalytics.com.
And we're live.
Welcome to Top to Bottom. I'm Keenan. I know you all missed me last week. Beck, did you miss me?
Define miss. Yes, of course I missed you. Of course I missed you.
I know you did.
Scale of 1 to 10, how much did you miss me? 10 being you're desperate to see me. 1 being no effect. 5 being you're happy to see me. Scale 1 to 10.
57. A 57, Beck.
57.
Right answer. Right.
57.
Nice. It's a nice way to start the podcast.
Just, yep. That's how it goes. That's how it rolls.
Is this Price is Right rule, so I should come in at 56.9? I missed you at 56.9.
Beck, you got to do what you got to do.
57. Dead on.
And with that, we're going on to our very first segment of the podcast, which is Email Teardown. This is the segment where we tear down emails and messages that were sent to Beck and Keenan. So on to the first one. This one says, the subject line is, Keenan, quick question. Hi, Keenan. I saw on builtwith.com that you're hosting gap selling on AWS. Nacho is offering a $5,000 credit to existing AWS users and up to $1,500 in support hours through our marketplace. Interested? Let me know. Yes or no. Best, Patrick. Okay, Keenan, what do you think about this email?
Jesus Christ. This guy's not selling fucking toasters. I mean, seriously, this is a completely price-generated email. His whole offer is I can save you money, and he's going to save me $5,000. Well, let's forget the fact that I'm not the person who should send this. Maybe I'm the CEO, whatever. But if you think I honestly understand where our stuff is, I know it's on AWS, but how much we're paying and how we're using AWS and what our architecture looks like, if you think I know any of that, you are smoking crack, okay? So that is not a real thing, right? So I don't even know how to answer his question, right? Number one. Number two, there's no problem, which I say all the time, so I won't bore everybody with this. But to come at me about saving money to change from AWS to I'm assuming they're a cloud-based hosting center, right? Called Nacho. To save $5,000, you have got to be smoking crack. Like, this is where we host our critical applications. Money is not going to be enough to make me change. Very few people want to introduce that level of risk for money.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about you, Beck? What do you think about this email?
Yeah, well, I was at a 57. Now I'm at a 57.2 on Keenan's response. So I disagree with him. I mean, I do like that there was some personalization. Huh?
You disagree with me? You disagree with me?
No, I agree with you. I said I just agree with you.
Okay.
Basically. I mean, I do like that they said, I noticed that you're hosting gap selling on AWS. But like, if I really was personalizing this to a problem, I'd be like, gap selling what? The online training? Like, I'd be more specific in it. And this is purely price, to Keenan's point, which is not going to be the trigger that's ultimately going to move someone. So yeah, I disagree.
And look,
I disagree with
I want to be clear too. Look, I don't like price selling in any situation, right? But think about your company's applications, and in some of these cases could be mission critical applications. To think that money is the main motivator to introduce the risk of moving your applications off of one hosting center onto another just to save money, that the other piece about this is this, to be more specific, massively undermines your credibility. It suggests to me that you and your company are not reliable, because if you think it's about money when it comes to hosting, I don't trust you in anything else.
Yeah. And something as critical as that, I'm like, it's the risk. It's not even like the time to disintegrate and blah, blah. It's the risk that it won't work.
Yep.
All right, on to the next one. This one was a message sent to Becc. And on October of 2022, here she says, "Hello, my friend. How are you?" And then text back later, "Hello." And then November of 2022 sends the heart eye emoji, no context. And then end of December, they say, "Congrats on your work anniversary," with a little minion meme saying congratulations. And then it says, "Cold Zolling service needed." And then the beginning of the year, it says hi. I don't have to explain this much, but Becc, why don't you go off on this?
I think we should just let this email speak for itself and have a moment of silence that this was sent to me and that this is normally sent to me. It's normal. It's normal.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Keenan, what do you think?
I think people can fill in the gaps.
Yeah, I think you can fill in the gaps on this one.
I think I'm being hacked, but my team isn't very smart. But someone's trying to sign into my Zoom, and I keep denying it. And
bring it on the podcast.
And no one's sending me. No, we're not on Zoom.
I wanted to break it up. I wasn't sure where that was going.
I was giving a moment of silence, like Becc said.
Much like the email thread, we don't know where it was going. I'm actually interested.
Yeah. Yes, much like the email thread, we don't know.
Friday night perspective, just to see where this person goes.
Okay, now we're on to our next segment of this podcast, which is
Sales Mythology.
This is the segment where we demystify common myths in the sales industry. The first one of today is you should rig a root cause in your favor. Becc, why don't you start us off with this one?
Yeah, so I've seen this quite a bit recently, oddly enough, in posts. And I'm guessing what that means is that you should, regardless of whether you believe it or not, say that the root cause of a problem that you know that they would solve is something that your product or service changes. So it means I should reinvent the math of what I say the root cause is so that it could be poor quality cold emails, for instance, because I solve for better quality cold emails. And so the myth here is that it helps you sell. And while I might agree that it might help you sell in the moment, the ethics of the whole thing, I just don't know where to go. My mind is completely blown that this is posted on LinkedIn. It's completely blown that anyone liked it. And it's completely blown that you would do that to someone, that you would say, no, the root cause of your pipeline problem is cold email, not email deliverability, because I solve for that. So it's deeply unethical. And the last thing I'll say is it's not about the short-term sale. Even if you get it across the line, when they figure out that it's not actually that root cause, we can talk about renewal, upsell, cross-sell, referral, your reputation, your ethics, how much you can look in the mirror at night. But I think it is absolutely, to the core, terrible practice as a human being to rig something in your favor to the detriment of your prospect. That's all I'm going to say.
What about you, Keenan? What do you think about this?
We should have just changed the question to, should we lie and cheat our customer?
That's what you're doing.
I mean, that's really what the question should have been, right? So if I have to answer that question for anybody, I don't know what to say, right? We got a small group today. I'm going to take this. So we had a small group. I don't know. We have less than 1/4 of what we normally have. One quarter, 15% of what we normally have. So folks, what do you think? Put some stuff in the comments because there's so few of you. You guys get to play with us today. So what do you guys think? Right? But I think I agree with Becc. Anytime that your somebody, boss, peer, company, whatever, is suggesting that you lie, manipulate, or compromise your integrity, just move on.
So
I'm not even going to give this an answer.
This is what's disturbing about it, is by a pretty well-known sales guru. They posted it several times, and there was hundreds of likes on it. I don't know what bothers me more, the advice or the likes. Then I'm like, this is why we have the reputation that we have. And I think it's because they think they don't have another option. They're like, well, then I can't influence the sale if I don't do that.
Stop selling. Get out. Like literally, and spend that time finding something else.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine a doctor doing that? Rigging the root cause? Rigging the root cause.
I was thinking,
push more medication?
Yeah, I can't. I was really thinking about a mechanic the whole time.
Mm.
I was thinking about a mechanic. I had a mechanic once. I'll never forget this. This guy was great. I had a mechanic. So I had this really, well, at the time, I had this car, 77 Blazer, 77 Blazer, right? Chevy Blazer. And this was in 93. So it's 20 years old. Freaking loved it. It was mint, though. It was minted out. People talked about it all the time. Anyways, me and my buddies drove it down to South Padre Island for spring break. And we all piled in. And when we got down, we took the top off. It was a party mobile. Well, on the way home, it started kind of sputtering, and it wasn't running as smooth. And so it got us all the way home, but I just remember you put on gas, and it didn't have the power that it used to have, and it sputtered. And I was like, shit. And remember, it's 93. I'm in college. I'm broke. And I'm thinking, if this is the engine or something, I'm screwed. But I knew something was wrong, so I took it into the mechanic, and I was like, I think I may have thrown a piston or something. This thing doesn't have the power. You can hear it go when you put on the gas. It had trouble going up hills. Mm-hmm. And he called me a day later, and when he goes, it's all fixed. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you had a loose spark plug. He easily could have told the spark plug cap, like it wasn't on tight. And so when people don't know, you need that electric shock to make the pistons go. So when a spark plug is undone, the pistons don't fire. So my assessment, I thought it was a bad piston, was accurate, but it wasn't actually the bad piston. It was just the cap wasn't tight on the spark plug. Mm-hmm. So my point in that, he easily could have said to me, yeah, you need a new engine. Mm-hmm. And then he could have put that thing in the back, or he could have said, I need a new piston. He could have put it in the back, let it sit there for 2 weeks and said, all right, it's all fixed. And then rolled it out and got himself $3, $4, $5 grand. Easily could have done that. It was free. He's like, all right, what do you mean? It took me 2 seconds. I looked at it, put it on, you're good, take off. So that's basically the equivalent of what someone is doing in sales, is this idea that, hey, oh yeah, I know what the problem is, and it's really not that problem, but I'm going to charge you for it.
What's really annoying is like if you're able to diagnose correctly, that you know that it's not the correct root cause, it's like, dude, you're 75% the way there. Meaning, like, that's the hard part, is to learn how to do that. So it's just from an ethics view, my jaw hits the floor every time I see stuff like this, every time I hear these questions asked, and it's all the time. And it's like, I can't unsee it.
Yep.
I can't unsee how bad the goal of sales technique and the goal of selling and the goal of,
All right, we're going on to our next sales myth of today, which is, in discovery, the only information that I need to acquire is the prospect's self-diagnosis. Keenan, what do you have to say about this? Or what the prospect says is their problem or their impact?
No. I talk about this all the time. Look, I do an exercise in our training. It's a powerful exercise. We have every single person in the training pick something that they bought recently. And we tell them, please pick something that has some substance, right? Like, I don't care, air conditioning unit, redo your kitchen, house, doesn't really matter. We ask them to pick something, right? And then we ask them to write down their current state and their future state, and we break it out. Okay? Current state being physical and literal, problem, impact, emotion, root cause, and then the future state, new physical and literal, problem solved, desired outcomes, emotion, and potential solutions. We ask them to fill that whole thing out. We take a break, and they spend the time to do it. Inevitably, every single time so far when I come back, and as I ask them what they wrote, first thing they say is, I wanted this, I wanted that, I wanted this, I wanted that. They didn't even really know what the problem was. They just kept saying, well, I said, it really says physical and literal problem. I needed a new car, or I wanted this. They don't even have any clue about where they were when they bought. And then the more questions I ask, I start to find out what was going on, who was involved, how was it affecting you, what was your current environment? And they like, oh yeah, this. And the point of me telling you the story is nobody knows what they really want. And they don't know what they really want because very few people truly understand where they are. We just don't. We just operate from gut and feel and anecdotal shit, and then we just run to what we want to do. And so if you allow a customer to tell you what they want to do and you run for it, you run the risk of selling the wrong thing, not solving the problem correctly, underselling, overselling, etc. So absolutely not. The customer's not always right, and they don't know what they always need.
What about you, Becc? What do you think about this?
Yeah, so I think Keenan's right again. Very, very, very right again. But you know what really sticks with me is when I hear sellers asking questions or I see advice in the industry, it's always to ask self-diagnosis questions. And you're begging your buyer to Keenan's point, sometimes they haven't even thought it through. Usually they're incorrect somewhere in there. But the other main glaring issue that I'm like, if you're going to acquire their self-diagnosis information only, what they think, what they feel, what they think the root cause is, they think the impact is, blah, blah, blah. What the hell do they need you for? What did they gain from that interaction? They gave you all their self-diagnosis information, but what on earth did they gain? You gain that as a seller, but if they don't gain any new information, there's a difference between misdiagnosis and misdiagnosis. Misdiagnosis is something you diagnose and diagnose incorrectly. Misdiagnosis is something you miss entirely. And if they don't gain something in one of those two buckets, what on earth do they need you for? PLG exists because they aren't getting this. So it just blows my mind that you would think you can add value as a seller if you can't uncover any of that information and aren't after it in the room. Blows my mind.
You're an order taker. You're an order
100%.
taker. I just for the record, I don't have a break until 4:30, and so I have to eat. I have to eat, and I haven't eaten all day. So if I don't do this now, I don't eat.
I wrote in the comments the soda was a paid actor.
So I saw that, and that's why I lifted it up again.
Well, on to the next segment of this podcast, which is
Take it or leave it.
Hold on a second.
Keenan said,
That's okay. Someone wrote a comment. I'm going to leave it alone. Keep going.
Wait, I want to know what the comment is. I can't see the comments.
I'm being a bit persnickety, but Scott Cronin said, discovery is about picture painting, current state, timeline to solve the problem, level of priority, action they've been taking, desired outcomes. Your job is to use the third-party outcomes you've created to get them to think alternatively what they say. I only agree with half of that.
Yeah, right? I was going to say, I agree with half of it.
But discovery is not about painting a picture. Discovery is about diagnosing and understanding what is going on that causes them to have to change. The second part of that, about where they want to go in the priority, that's fine, but that doesn't happen until I've got you to a place where you understand I have to change. What I'm currently doing is not acceptable. So I just think people, again, are too busy trying to sell and don't understand it's about diagnosing.
Quick litmus test is just apply whatever you're saying that you think about sales to would a doctor do it.
Yep.
So is it a doctor's job to paint a picture? It's like, now you need that self-diagnosis information to understand what they believe. What are the facts that support that? Because it'll help you build your diagnosis. Like you cannot stop there. A doctor's not like, Let me walk you through an image. You're walking down the beach and you don't have cancer. It's like, I have cancer.
To be fair to Scott, because I'm reading on a comment,
It's a piece.
what his point could be that when I've gotten all of this information, it's clear, and that is a picture, right? Mm-hmm. So out of fairness, he could be to create a picture. When someone says to me, paint a picture, I feel like I'm telling you what it is, and I don't see it that way. The buyer tells me what it is, and I have to help them see the impact of that. But anyways, I digress.
Mm-hmm.
All right, take it
trying to figure out how to.
No, that's all. Just go. Just keep going.
All right, cool. All right, well, this segment is called Take It or Leave It, and it is the segment where I introduce common sales tactics, and Keenan and Becc let us know whether they would take it or leave it.
Leave it. I'm in a fired up mood. Go ahead.
The first one. SDRs being coached by AEs. Keenan, take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it only in that I believe all coaching is good coaching. Some people are going to be good, some people are bad, and I'm not going to sit there and determine if AEs are good or bad at coaching. So I'm going to take it.
Got you. What about you, Becc? Take it or leave it?
I'm going to leave it. Oddly enough, in practice, I usually see that's not just like people say, like the AE's expertise is closing, which whole nother bag for whole nother time. I digress on whether that's true or not. But the SDR's expertise should be prospecting. So hypothetically, they should be more of a lethal prospector because they're focusing on it more often than not. And what I found is when that coaching environment does happen, usually it was AEs telling them to do things, which I, as a leader, was like, don't do that, Brendan. Like, we just covered not doing that. So I do believe that it's helpful for an AE to coach you on what they know about the account and what they've done so far. That's usually helpful. But from a tactical perspective, I'm going to leave it.
All right, the next one for today is virtual sales cycles. Becc, take it or leave it.
I don't even know what that is.
Meaning selling completely virtually.
Yeah, selling everything virtually.
If you have to, I mean, I don't think it's a main root cause that will change the outcome because I'm not a relationship seller. I'm terrible to have a relationship with. So I'm not a golf course, good old boy, oil club money seller. So I think that you could diagnose virtually as effectively as you can in person. Now, the thing it will add is a lot of times...
Wait, are you taking it or leaving it?
So I'm a T-bit. The one thing that it does add is sometimes people feel a little bit more comfortable giving you the information that you need, which can be a bridge for sellers. But other than that, I can do everything virtually. No problem.
Becc, last year,
I'm down to
your business. What percentage of your business was sold 100% virtually?
100%.
Thank you very much. And you call that a T-bit? I'm out. I'm going to take it all day long. Beck's to take it. End of discussion. There you go. Jesus Christ, Becc, you're killing me.
100%.
You
can, but I think there's value. There's value to non-virtual.
Didn't say it. The question is take it or leave it. You have to take it. You're 100% sales virtually. You have to take it.
I think I'm down to a 56 now. You missed it.
And with that, we're going on to my favorite section of the podcast.
Take it or leave it. Can the host eat while they're doing a podcast?
It's like the NASDAQ numbers running in the background of how much Keenan misses me going up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, on to the next segment of the podcast.
If you bug me, I miss you more, and when we're getting along, I miss you less.
Wait, say that again?
Say that again.
It's the inverse. When I miss you, when you bug me more, I miss you more, and when you don't bug me, I miss you less.
You do?
This looks like Becc sounds like she's the most surprised human being on the planet right now.
I am.
Thank you, Derek. I love you, baby.
Okay, on to the next segment of this podcast. My favorite one of this podcast, which is
the inbox.
I have to escalate my energy every time. But this is the segment where Becc and Keenan answer questions from the audience. And to that end, I have the help of this trusty mailbox.
I saw someone on YouTube make a comment that he was desperate to find where to submit questions, and he could not find it.
Okay, that's it. I'm putting a comment on every single video right after when I post it. It's gonna be in the description. I'm gonna comment it in this podcast right after the podcast is done.
Okay. And I want to do something else too. I want to give people a chance on this to ask a live question. So we'll answer one, and then someone can ask a live question. If they don't, we'll go back to the next one in the middle.
Someone ask a question.
Gotcha. Okay, so the first question that we're going to have before we answer any audience questions is from George Batia from San Francisco, California.
Hi, George.
I don't think I'm able to say this company's name, but a very big sales tech company just cut.
Why can't you? Man, say it.
It's Google, Amazon, or Salesforce. Just cut people?
Yeah, definitely.
What's the number? I'll tell you.
10%.
Amazon, right?
No, Salesforce.
All right.
Either way, they say Salesforce just cut 10% of its workforce, and other companies in big tech have already been doing the same. How can salespeople protect or prepare themselves amidst the recession and company layoffs? Becc, why don't you start us off with this one?
No one's going to lay off a seller that's way past quota. No one in their right mind. So, unless they're going bankrupt, and that would be the final straw of, we are going bankrupt. That is the last head that I would chop, is a seller who is past quota. I would protect that at all costs. If I'm thinking as a business owner, I would chop all the quote-unquote fluff, which I would see as things that I can't directly, strongly correlate to revenue. So I would evaluate it as, am I that top performer? So I would look amongst my peers and be like, where am I from a quota attainment perspective in raw according to the industry? And then according to the team, where am I in the rung? And if you're anywhere below 50% on that rung, or you're anywhere below quota, you are up for grabs. So I would learn how to freaking diagnose, learn all the information that your buyer doesn't know that will help them, and your numbers will take care of themselves. That's my biggest recommendation.
What about you, Keenan? What do you think?
So Becc is spot on, 100% spot on. Okay, just be the fucking best you can possibly. But I'm going to take a slight left turn here. Okay, and I'm going to address the part of protecting yourself against a layoff. Okay, and I learned this. Becc, don't be mad if we finish with this, but I think this is powerful.
Okay.
I learned this early, but didn't live it early. So I knew the lesson, but didn't live the lesson. Mm-hmm. Okay? Here it is. And this particularly people in sales. I get it if you're a barista. Stop fucking wasting your money. The best way to protect yourself from a layoff is not need the fucking job. Mm-hmm. We as a society, we move through life in a way that we are always a paycheck or two away from being fucked. And look, I'm not judging because I've been there, okay? But the truth of the matter is when you don't get ahead of yourself or you don't keep consuming all the money you make. I remember when I was younger, a buddy of mine used to say, man, I remember dreaming about the salary I am now starving on. If you live below your means for X period of time, I'm going to make this shit up. If you let 3 moves ahead of you and you live 3 moves down, then you get the next one to the next one. Keep that buffer. And you've got 1 year, 2 years salary in the bank. You wait to have kids. You don't buy fucking watches. You don't buy cool cars. You don't live in neighborhoods you can't afford. And you stack that up. When they come and lay you out, it's like, all right, fuck you. I got all the time in the world. Mm-hmm. All the time in the world. I'll go find another job. I'll take my time. Matter of fact, you know what I think I might do? I even spend a couple days watching TV, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's no stress. Layoffs get us and they freak us out because none of us are in a position to not have a job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one last one, and I know we're gonna go. We do have a question from.
We do have a question live. Yeah, we gotta answer.
Cody Ruby from Zentegra. I hope that I'm pronouncing that right, but he says, take it or leave it, community gatherings for ideal customer prospects such as happy hours or sporting events.
In what regard? I have to ask a counter question. What regard? Meaning, take it or leave it as the seller. Would I go to them or would I arrange them?
I think it means as a seller, do I arrange them as a way to sell?
Yeah, it's a sales tactic. Keenan, what do you
That's
think?
a tough one. I'll take it under the right circumstances. Yeah. And I don't want to spend hours talking about. I would take it under the right circumstances. If it's done well, I know who my ICP is. There's no selling at the event, right? And there's value in the event to people going. I'm taking it.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Becc?
I'm a leave it. And the reason I'm a leave it is if I'm viewing in the context of will it help me sell more effectively, like especially decision makers, they do not want to waste their time.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to show up to like big community event where people are going to try and sell to them maybe, or, they might need a few, like that's not usually from what I see. Now this is a generalization. It's not how I see them operate. Like I'll see people say like, hey, we're going to put a stamp card where people have to walk around to get a stamp at every booth to be entered into a competition to win some headphones. And I'm like, number one, no decision maker, like they're going to value their time. They're not going to go around to every freaking booth and get sold to.
For headphones.
And number two, if they really want headphones, I would argue they're either A, not a DM, B, not a DM with budget. They're not a DM. No one.
They just go buy them.
If you're saying that the chance to get headphones is more valuable than this person's time in their own perspective, that's usually a litmus test that they're not a DM. So I would leave it in terms of I would take my time, attention, alacrity, sells at selling more effectively instead of doing community gatherings.
Would y'all be down for one last question?
I think we should do a second question. Keenan, it's been forever. Come on.
Okay, well, in that case, this one is from, sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly, but Derek de Froberville. He says, I have a question. I get too involved with my clients and end up spending too long with them and not doing enough prospecting. When do you know when to pull? Becc, what do you think about this one? I
need to know what he's doing with these clients.
Yeah. My first thought is, how do you define too much time?
Well, I'm thinking he's thinking like, I would guess the root cause that needs to change, in my opinion, again, is asking no questions and diagnosing on the fly would be you view selling as a relationship thing.
Yeah.
So you think you have to spend time with them to be friends with them in order for them to buy. My sister, is she nice? People will never know. Why? She's a doctor. She's in the ER and she's there to diagnose their problem. She's nice. She is nice on a side note. But that's not the point of the job.
I've met her. She's very nice.
Oh, I will let her know. But it's like, man, get in, get out, diagnose, and like leave the friendship for after hour stuff. But that's how I would know that I've delivered value and I don't have to stick around to do that. I've diagnosed, I've given them the tool so I don't feel bad, if like, that's it. That was the job. It wasn't to be friends with them.
Now, what about you, Keenan? What do you think?
His hint to me is he says, I end up spending too long with them. So too long, you need a comparative analysis. You need some sort of comparative environment, right? So too long to mow a 10-foot by 10-foot yard, 6 hours, 10 foot by 10 feet, 6 hours, that's too long. Doesn't add up, right? So for him to say too long, what he's suggesting to me is he doesn't understand the buyer's problems. And so therefore, if he doesn't understand the buyer's problems, he doesn't know how quickly or how important it is for that buyer to solve that problem. So therefore, dumb example, but if one of his prospects is, he sells water and one of his prospects is in the desert and needs to, it doesn't get water in the next 12 hours, he's going to die. He doesn't know any of this. He's just talking to them and spending time with them and trying to see if they'll buy. And he's got another one who just played basketball for 4 hours and he could probably just go to 7-Eleven, but he'd rather not drive there. He's just talking to him and seeing what's going on and talking about his water. He has no sense of urgency or understanding where each one is. And the amount of, where I'm going with this, Derek, is the amount of time you spend with a buyer should directly attach to how quickly they need to solve the problem, the impact of not solving the problem should you not spend time with them and help them do it. So it says he's not finding the problem to me.
There's another piece I was thinking of when you were talking. At the end of the question, he says, I'm spending too much time with my buyer, so I can't prospect, correct? That's what he was after.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I would say if prospecting more is the goal, I almost answered the wrong question. If prospecting more is the goal, usually you're going to find, I'm like, prospecting isn't fun, right? It's usually not fun. So I would just put in instead of saying how much time do I have to prospect, I would say how much do I need to prospect from a conversion perspective, book meetings perspective, ASP perspective to hit my quota or exceed my quota by the amount that I want to, back into the math of how many calls that takes, how many emails that takes from a conversion perspective, and then just split it out per day of this is what I'm going to do today. So this has to be a core static behavior if that's the goal. But I do agree with what everything that Keenan's saying. The quicker you know the problem, the quicker you can quantify it, the quicker you can find the root cause. Like my sister, it's not question fatigue in the ER. She has a literal time limit that if she doesn't ask questions in the most effective way with the time that she has, someone dies. So view it like that. What are the questions that I can ask that will help me most quickly diagnose and most effectively diagnose? And that should speed it up, to Keenan's point.
I already know that San Francisco has sirened Becc already, but just to double confirm. But on to our next segment of this podcast, which is
The challenge.
This is the segment where Keenan and Becc break down a challenging subject within the sales industry. And today's challenge is all about questions. What are the wrong questions to ask, how to stop asking stupid questions, and what to ask instead. Keenan, would you like to start us off on this one?
As I put a fry in my mouth.
Keep going.
So, yes, I can start. I think actually if I can find some time, I'd actually like to sit down and draw this out, because there's definitely categories. I think I could actually, and if I had Becc by my side, she'd drive me crazy, but we'd get there. She'd help me anyways. I think there's a set of categories you could put these in, which I don't think anybody ever has. So I think there's an opportunity here for somebody or us to categorize these questions to help people out. Nobody does categorization better than Becc. Nobody. So I'll start with one. I think the first category is questions that are disconnected from the buyer and the buyer's problems and are designed to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
If your question is designed to qualify, find out certain information that tells you if they should be a good buyer and not to understand, any question in that genre is fucked up. So I'll start there. We'll make this back and forth.
Hi, Becc. What do you think?
Yeah. So I do have categories. I have a one-sheeter. Men, if you put it in the chat.
I got you. Okay, hold
8 cents of questions. But when I take a step back, because when I was creating those, I was like, to Keenan's point, they're irrelevant to finding the problem. But when I take a step back, I think the reason that people are asking these questions is they have no goal in the room. So they're like, other than, how do I sell this person? So they're thinking, what are the questions that would make them think in a certain way? Or what were the questions that would lead them to buy? And that's the problem. The only thing, in my opinion, that is the main blocker that needs to shift is, Keenan, have you ever played Guess Who?
Yeah.
You have? So can you describe to the audience what Guess Who is?
And what I think it is, I'm thinking of a person. I can ask yes or no questions, and how quickly can I figure it out? Are they, right? Is that the one? So are they man or female? Are they old or young? And so in matter of fact, a computer does this, and a computer figured out that the first questions you ask are designed to carve out the largest chunk of people.
Totally.
And then so like when you start, is it male or female? Good. Now I got 50% gone. It's female. So they old or young, and or older, 40, whatever. So good. Now I take that out. And then you say, are they a scientist? Or then no, music, No. Sports person, yes. Okay. So the whole idea is to start out here and bring it down with questions that get the majority of stuff off the table as quickly as possible. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. So I played this game when I was home with my niece, Kate. She's like, Ambi, I want to play a game. I was like, okay. And it's, to Keenan's point, you have 100 people in front of you, and the other person does too. And you know a person, they know a person, and your goal is to ask the questions that will help you identify who is the person that they're staring at. And so from a strategy perspective, you should, when I smoked Kate in the ground, I think I said, Kate, meet your maker. You're about to meet your maker.
Everybody, like, Kate's about 9, okay? Just so you know what Becc does, okay? Kate is not fucking 20, okay? Kate is a young girl. Okay, I'm sorry. But yeah. That's Becc. She just chews up her young and spits them out.
So sweet. She's so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking from a strategy perspective, I should ask the questions, to Keenan's point, that will nail out the most wrong answers. It's not this person. If there's 100 people and 60 of them are wearing hats, 70 of them are wearing hats, I'm like, are they wearing a hat? And if she says no, then I've got only 30 left. So I would view it as the exact same thing. My goal is to diagnose as quickly as I can. So instead of asking what question should I ask, because then you're going to get into sales techniqueville of like, how do I make them think or how do I make them feel? Just shift your goal. My goal is to diagnose as quickly as I can with the most effective questions possible. How would I do that? And then it auto-corrects most of the questions that people start asking. They're like, well, if I was trying to diagnose the problem, then I'd have to figure out what the problem was. I'm like, bingo, Brendan. Like, what's their metric? What are they probably trying to solve for? They're a marketer. So what are they measured on? MQLs. So where are they at today? What was the goal beforehand? How big is the deficit? Okay, now you have the problem. So now I got to find the root cause. Is it Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Michael Jones, please be more specific when you say the prospect will see through that. What's that, my man, so I can make sure you're hearing us correctly? Because I think, I'll wait to see what you put in. What's that? So the point of Beck's metaphor or example with playing that game with her daughter isn't to suggest, if anybody's hearing this and thinks she's saying you should play that game with your buyer. Okay, so, right, is it a big problem or a small problem? She's not suggesting that. Okay, so that's how you're reading this. You're not understanding it. What she's saying is, you have to have a strategy that will properly allow you to uncover what is going on in that buyer's world as quickly as possible and as effectively as possible. Mm-hmm. So I know this question was what a bad question, but I'll share this with you. I just did a video review or a call review. Oh, I thought he was picking up that thing already. I just did a call review where I get to listen. I love doing these. I love doing them. Mm-hmm. And I heard the buyer say, well, we've had these problems for a while. We're just at a point to fix it, blah, 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 blah. And then the rep asked some stupid question about, well, what platform are you on? Mm-hmm. Now, I freaked out. Now, Becc, why do you think I freaked out?
Because he should know already. Given the context, he should know already.
No, I didn't even care if he didn't know anybody. The client said, yeah, because he said, why did you call? Were you having any problems or do you have a new problem? He said, no, we've had this problem for a while. We're just getting to a place we want to fix it. We want to do this, 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 and this. And then the first question the rep asked was, what platform are you on?
It's a solution-centric question that he's at.
But specifically, what question should he have asked?
What was the context again? Start from the beginning. I'm going to get this answer right.
The customer says, he asked the client, hey, what's having you want to talk to us? Do you have any problems going on? Is anything new? Mm-hmm. And he said, no, we don't have any new problems. We've had the problem for a while. We're just now trying to fix it and deal with these issues.
Okay.
What should the rep have asked?
What are those problems and issues?
Thank you very much. Literally, that's the only question you ask right there. But the rep didn't do that. The rep said, what application are you using? He didn't even see. The customer said, we've had this problem for a while. The only question is, could you tell me more about these problems? How long have they been bothering you? Totally. And just shut up. But see, we don't do that. Bad questions are questions that don't listen to what the buyer said and aren't designed to uncover the challenges the buyers are having. Go back.
So the reason, amen, by the way, that the reason I think people struggle with this is they're like, what technique do I use? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, let's do an exercise, Brendan.
The listening technique.
I'm like, let's do an exercise. If your goal is to find the problem that the buyer is on the line for. And I, when grimace, and I'm like, and I'm going to off you if you don't get this correctly. Okay. If you don't get this question correctly, hypothetically, what question would you ask to find the problem that they're running into? He said, I would ask him, what problem are they trying to solve? And I'm like, correct. I'm like, so start there and start quantifying it. Like,
okay, can I make a slight change? Can I make a slight change?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, this is, in a lot of people do this, and it's not semantics. You said trying to solve.
Yeah.
Ask the question, what challenges or problems are you currently struggling with?
Right. The semantics of the words. Go ahead.
What happens is, though, when you say trying to solve, they will say something and then move to the future state. And the rep will then glob onto the future state and they run away from the problem. If you ask what problem you're currently struggling with now and you don't allow them to think about solving, they can't take you on the journey of what I want. And now that makes it easier to get to the problem.
So I'm like,
that's okay. When we're done,
yeah, Becc, go ahead. Just one.
So I'm like, I'm defining a problem as typically, their metrics, and a problem is anything that prevents them from achieving those metrics.
Yep.
So I lead that way. To your the point I was trying to make is like the techniques start sloughing off in their mind if they know that the goal is I have to find a problem.
Yes,
so if the person
we agree on that.
Like, we want to get an event, or like we want to buy this thing. I'm like, well, that's the solution. That's not the problem. My first question would be like, why do you say that? What current indicators do you have that you're not being successful? Like, we need current, better cold emails. Like, well, why do you say that? I don't think that our cold emails are good today. What's the metric? What's the KPI? Is it on booked meetings and on qualified meetings? What's historical conversion? What's the conversion today? And then I'm quantifying the gap. And then I'm like, okay, how many cold emails are you sending per day? How many cold calls are you making per day? What's the reply rate? What's the open rate? What time of day are you sending them? Because they might say I need better cold emails, but really I'm like, you just need to send them at 4 p.m. and your quantity. Like, I saw this the other day. The person was sending 3 emails per day. And I'm like, okay, it might be a quality issue too, but your main problem right now is you're only sending 3. Like, you need to you need to send more per day. So the point I was trying to make, and I agree with you. What are you struggling with today? And anchoring around the metrics. The point I'm trying to make is most reps are wondering, what question do I ask? And they're doing leading questions. What if you could questions? Imagine if you could. What if I told you that you could have 10,000 more leads per month, Keenan? And it's like,
or I got 2 here that says, why fix it now? No, Kevin Chambers, you never ask why fix it now. Self-diagnosing questions obnoxious to a buyer. Right?
Totally. And there's a cost to them. So I'm like, sometimes the self-diagnosis information does help me build my diagnosis. Like in a lot of cases. But to your point, they're really annoying to your buyer because they're attached to your buyer. It doesn't teach your buyer anything that they don't know. And like, they could be wrong. So I can't ask 17 self-diagnosis questions right in a row because then they get the impression right off the bat that you have no value to add. So they start shutting down. They're like, dude, can I just see the price? Can you just walk me through the demo? I'm going to self-diagnose anyway. And like, here's the last thing I'll say, and then we will move on. I walk through, and I have a big problem because I walk through LinkedIn every day watching gurus teach everyone to ask self-diagnosis questions.
Yeah, they do.
And patting themselves on the back for that. And I'm like, I'm not going to shame you or blame you for not knowing that you should be asking questions that will help you build your diagnosis. But I am gonna get pissed at you that you should know better if you are a guru and you're influenced.
Where'd you learn that phrase, self-diagnosing question?
That's a self-diagnosis. That's a self-diagnosis question.
Oh, no, that's not diagnosing. That's a factual question.
You should know better. And here's the other thing. If I'm a sales rep, your expertise is diagnosing. If it's not diagnosing, you have no expertise. It's not countering objections. It's not product. Go call product. They'll let you know.
Yep.
It's not sending 300 emails. That's marketing's job. It's not post. That's CS. Your job, your only job. And I know it's hard. You have to learn their metrics, their leading indicators, lagging indicators, the problems that they run into in the day-to-day that are worth solving, root causes they don't know about, problems they don't know about, current impacts that they don't currently know about, future impacts they don't know about, current events that just happened that do affect them that they don't know about, future events that are going to happen that they don't know about. But that is your only freaking job as a sales rep, is to learn that information. So I'm like, start and end there. If you don't know your buyer's metrics, it is a great litmus test to you that, like, where's the expertise? We are known for having no actual job in sales because we have no expertise. And people are correct. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We don't.
This is the most fired up we've seen Becc in this show ever. Triggered.
Bizarre.
I love it. Yep.
Bizarre.
Yep.
I'm rolling through LinkedIn and I'm like, dude, you have got to stop doing that to sellers, and sellers, you have got to stop doing that to your prospects. Find the information that they don't know that will hurt them. That's it. Mm-hmm. That is it. That's the job. If you don't want to be in that job, find another profession, because that's the trade of craft of sales. Bizarre to me.
All right. So, to answer the question, because it looks like he's a first-time listener. I think it's Derek. He asked, "What's the point of the horn or the siren?"
Keep
the
me
point
on
of the
time.
siren, Derek, is to keep us on time and move us to the next topic. Today, we have clearly eviscerated that guardrail, and I think it was to the benefit of the show, but we will commit to going back to allowing that thing to keep us on track so the show does not divulge? No. What's the word to go backwards?
Diverge.
Thank you. Diverge into a shit show. In the last 6 hours, because we are not Joe Rogan. We are not doing Joe Rogan show.
Totally. I don't know how to say, Derek, if you're still watching, I don't know how to say I miss you with my words, but my actions are showing me that I just miss Keenan. Point blank.
He just wants to talk to me. Talk. Yep, I get it. Yes, best of intentions. Yes, Derek, thank you. All right, so we're back on track for the last segment, I think.
Yes, the very last segment of this podcast, which is the rants. The rant is our segments where where Becc and Keenan give us their closing thoughts and share with us what's on their mind. So, Becc, you went on a huge rant. Let's start with Keenan right now. What is your rant today, Keenan?
If I have to be completely honest, I forgot about the rant and didn't prepare one. And not one is jumping out at me. I think rather than letting our audience down and making one up that's full of shit, I'm going to pass today.
Got you. Okay, Becc. What are your closing thoughts for today?
So my closing thoughts, I had two that were a choice, and I'm gonna make a pivot. So it's gonna be a short.
You can't do both of them, Becc.
I know. I'm only doing one. I was gonna have you pick as your surprise, but
let me pick. I want to pick.
Okay, one's on impact and one is on solutions.
Solutions.
Okay. A solution is just something that will change the current state of someone. Okay? So one solution to a problem could be fatal to someone else if they don't have that problem. So the example of this is my sister She's in the ER. Someone comes in. They're showing a lot of symptoms. And she had narrowed it down to one of two things. It was either a blood clot or it was an aortic dissection. The person's really
you thin that blood. You thin that blood aortic. They're dead.
Right.
But if you do the other way, you thicken that blood for the aortic, you're going to make the... I'm not even a doctor and I figured this shit out.
Correct. So a blood clot, the solution is a blood thinner.
Yes.
But an aortic dissection, for everyone who's on the line, Keenan, you constantly amaze me. Aortic dissection is you're hemorrhaging blood to your aorta. So a blood thinner, making your blood go faster, would kill the person. So she sends up basically some test results, and they release a contact into your blood that the person who released it thought that they could release both of those tests at the exact same time. So they release both of them at the same time, but typically you're supposed to release them at different times. And my sister gets back the results, and it says that this person's negative on both. No blood clot and no aortic dissection. And there was a cost to this person because this person was pregnant. So any test actually emits radiation to this woman and her twin babies that she has in her stomach.
Minimize that radiation.
So she's like, I'm confident, though, it is one of these. And if I diagnose this incorrectly and give them the wrong solution, she's dead. So she said, do another test, release them at different times. They did. It was an aortic dissection. Solved the problem. The woman's saved, and one of the babies lived through it. Not both. But the point of this thing is like there is a cost to all of the questions that you're asking, and you cannot prescribe a solution without knowing
what you sell. Everybody, remind them what you sell.
It's without knowing the problem, because a problem is only something that you need to change something in the current state to solve the problem. So my push to people is it's not only are not all solutions created equally, how you use them is not created equally, but one solution could be extremely fatal to someone in their day to day. They spend the budget, the time, and they start running off and doing something that could, and it's a little bit different situation, but it's the same parallel. Could end their job, could end people's jobs around them, which is a very big freaking deal. So find the problem. Find the problem before you prescribe a solution. Your buyers will thank you later for it. Keenan, how did you know blood clot versus aortic dissection? There is a study. I do have to give my sister a shout out. Like global study that was released because based on her research that you have to release them at different times because of what she did. She didn't tell me for the longest time. Happened like 3 years ago. You can go look it up.
The scary part, if I'm getting this right too, the scarier part of this story is your sister had to make another difficult decision, and this was the risk. Do I risk these children and this mother to more radiation, or which could hurt them, or do I make a pick on this lack of data set, this incomplete data set?
Totally.
And she said there's higher risk to killing them at 50-50 than there is exposing them to more radiation. So she was in sort of a Kubu Maru, what is that Star Trek thing? Someone else help me with that Star Trek riddle thing. Kubi, whatever. Someone help me, right? Anyways, someone out there's a Star Trek fan. Kobayashi Maru. Is that what it is? Kobayashi Maru. Anyways, all right.
Star Trek is past my time.
What is it, though?
They keep making them. There's a new one coming out with Picard.
What is it? What is it, though?
It's basically a Kobayashi Maru or something like that is an unsolvable problem, right? But then Captain James T. Kirk actually solved it and so proved it could be solved. But generally, they used it to train the captains and everything on Star Trek to challenge their thinking processes. So they give them one that can't be solved. And so the answer isn't did they solve it? It was more to test how did they process the information, what did they do, and was that the best, even though it was going to fail, was that the best choice?
And like this was a tough situation for her. And I had to find this study online. She didn't tell me. That's the kind of person that she is. So I pinged in our group chat. I said, is this study about something you did? And she goes into it and she said, what's really sweet. And she sent me the picture of the woman and her little girl afterwards, years afterwards, because she made the right decision.
Took me a minute, but Kobayashi Maru.
It wasn't the radiation that killed the baby, by the way. It was the state of the mother. But she was like, to your point, she was thinking it might kill these kids, but if I get the thing wrong, it might kill the mother, which will kill both kids. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I have to do it. I have to do it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Okay, everybody, I'm sorry, but thank you very much for joining us here on Top to Bottom. We broke all the rules. I am now late for my next meeting, but you know what I'm going to say. Until next time, peace. I'm out. I'm Keenan. This was Top to Bottom.
I'm Becc. See you next week.